Greetings, everyone. So nice to see so many of you here. Thanks for sticking around. Just 2 panels left, and you can reward your hard work with a cold drink under the hot sun. So welcome to this next panel. We're going to be talking about the new era of advertising. So we've got a few exciting trends and topics to work through. The evolution of advertising technology in CEE for sure, but also privacy, regulation, monetization in the region. And also we might be taking a quick look at what happens next. My panel has a varied and sort of diverse set of knowledge, and I'm going to ask them just to give us a quick intro to themselves and then their background, starting with Anette on the very left.
Thanks, Jonathan. So my name is Anette Schaefer. I'm an industry analyst, consultant to the industry for many years. I have a company that's called Big Picture. But also the reason why I'm on this panel is I'm also on the board of a company called All Eyes on Screens. What they're doing, they do advertising and replacements for ISPs, mostly based on AI.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Christophe Laborde. I'm sales director at Amagi, looking after France, Benelux, and CE market. And Amagi is a tech company. We provide solutions for content owners, broadcasters, to create, monetize, and deliver the channels.
Thank you. And Boris?
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Boris Yurin. I'm a sales director in a French tech company called Ateme. We are experts in video delivery. And in ad industry, we are more like a tech enabler for operators to manipulate with the ad.
Perfect.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Ladislav Navrátil, and I'm the co-founder of the Tivio studio, the company based in Prague. Not so good beaches there, like in Dubrovnik. working on it. AI, hopefully. We're helping the content owners, broadcasters, to help them monetize and distribute the content. So to find all the source of type of monetizations through ads, subscriptions, transactions, and how to help them to broaden their distribution channels further and further, for example, with the fast channels and so on.
Perfect, perfect. And I think we agreed the best beaches are in Warsaw. No?
Warsaw.
Yeah.
Warsaw.
We had preparation for this meeting, and it was voted for. So next time in Warsaw.
Thank you. I'm assuming a bunch of you have been to the panels throughout the week. One of the things that popped up on some of the panels, especially from the streaming services, was a little bit of negativity around FAST. Now, we're not just talking about FAST on this panel, but it is one of the topics we'd like to broach. So perhaps a few things are a little bit negative, but we're here to dispel this. Certainly, it's a little bit small today, but it's growing, and there's a lot going on. Anette, you had some great thoughts on the initial approach and the growth of FAST in this region and why it's actually a big deal starting now.
I don't know if it's a big deal yet, but I think that we have still a lot of linear viewership here in the region. And in general, people spending a lot of time watching still linear channels, and also the same like on demand. But I think also the advertisers are still quite big here and the media planning. So we have not seen so many changes in the relationship between the brands and the media planning, which we probably have seen in some Western European market, especially in UK. And therefore, I think that's a good chance for FAST to gain some grounds here.
We talked again about the importance of telcos, especially in that, and I think that makes this region, especially when we're talking about the linear nature of the market, particularly important. And you've also been doing some work around the collaboration efforts of what's going on there. So I wonder if you could enlighten us.
It has not, I think, not hit the CE region yet, but there's an initiative from a company called UTIC. This is a joint venture of Orange, Deutsche Telekom, Vodafone, and Telefonica, where they try to build a new sort of currency and new planning based on monetizing their ISP data or their user data under much more restricted data privacy laws than probably Google or others would apply. So it's pretty much an initiative against but pretty much to have an alternative to Google and Facebook and the global streamers or the global digital companies or giants. And I know that they have already a solution on the mobile side. I think they're building also on the fixed line side, but it's a great idea to think about it. How can you monetize your own user data, but that in a more, say, with more data privacy and more consent of the user.
Yeah, that's a good place to dig into a little bit and open up for the rest of the panel. There's a lot going on in the privacy space when we talk about consent and even sort of in the legal aspect of it. There's a few areas to discuss. Is it GDPR or is it where we're digging into with ISPs in particular, trying to work on that to improve the quality of the data? Question for the panel: what particular evolutions of the sort of data-driven advertising have been taking place with respect to GDPR and privacy in the last few years?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can take this question. So there is a very nice example from German market. The concept is called clean room. So this is a safe environment when advertiser and operator can exchange their data with full respect to user privacy. And there is some real-life case with Adidas. So how it works? So Adidas collects some data from their website. The guy is interested in new shoes, Gazelle, I don't know. And then they want to make conversion. They go to Deutsche Telekom and ask Deutsche Telekom, you should show this to this customer, but without disclosing his identity. And there is this concept, clean room, where a lot of machine learning, a lot of data science is involved, where they can securely enrich each other data and target more precisely. So it's clean room, quite a trendy term.
It seems that that's really needed because there are such gaps in where, say, broadcasters and advertisers and brands, and then, of course, delivery mechanisms themselves. But it sounds fantastic. How accessible is it? How shared and open is this? Is this a technology which can be deployed now, or is this kind of some small number of people are going to make a lot of money?
Yeah, it exists already. It exists already, so yeah, it's available today.
Let's move on to. Oops, sorry, lost my notes.
You need some help?
I do. Do you want to take these? Let's move on to some of the operator side of that. So clean room exists and it's okay, but how do the consents around actually gathering that in the first place work? So it's nice if you have permission, but is it just about anonymity, or is there work to be done with actually consumer protection? Is it a consent issue or a tech issue to solve that?
Well, yeah, it's more in legal domain, I would say. So how operator enrich their data, they get this data from a seller and some other channels, website, application, different cookies. So whenever you click a button, accept all cookies, you are caught.
Brilliant. Clean room.
Yeah. You're in a clean room, yeah, immediately.
Let's move on to Christophe. So we talked a little bit about enablement before. So this is very much in the sort of solution space for data. But as a tech enabler, how have you seen, just in general for this region and perhaps a little bit wider, what's been going in just the evolution of sort of advertising solutions over the last few years?
Yeah, just before a few words about fast is streaming with monetization, with programmatic advertisement. I think the streaming is already there. We have many streaming services as well, linear services. Broadcasters are already embracing streaming solutions. And the evolution for the monetization is mainly the programmatic advertisement, the advertising campaign driven by user data, by getting what is in clean room and targeting the right audience to make more revenues. But I would say that fast is not working without distribution. This is why you have to extend the reach of your distribution. You have to bring eyeballs in front of your content. And to do so, you need to address as many devices as possible, meaning that you have to do it server-side. You cannot afford to do it client-side. And it was one of the main evolution of the market. Everything has moved server-side. We do ad insertion, server-side ad insertion. We do analytics from server-side. We collect viewership, we collect ad performance analytics, and we report everything to advertisers, to ISP or whoever, using a server-side solution. Yeah.
The technology is one thing, but of course that's just one part of the problem. It seems that the solution for the data is there, the solution for the deployment is there, but the other side of the market, the content, the advertising, the brands themselves. How are we seeing the brands, especially in this region, adopt to either programmatic or fast, or just kind of the new way to think about data? Too many questions there. Let's start with just the brands and how they are adopting to fast or programmatic.
I think, broadcasters are the big brand, and to agree to move in programmatic. Today it's like a direct deal with digital agencies to create the campaign, and it can be an in-between, have a mix of programmatic along with a mix of direct deal. If you do direct deal, it's you will get better revenue, but you are not sure to fill the inventory. And you have to go step by step, maybe not switch to full programmatic, and from the very beginning, you have to evolve and make your team also aware on how it works.
Yeah, and I think also media planning is coming really back into the game, because before it was pretty much multi-screen, and then now we saw a shift from linear to digital, and it can't be all CPM based anymore. So you have to think much more broadly. It's not only about analytics and measurements, but I think planning is key. And the brands, I think there's a couple of trends to see that the brands are bring that knowledge back into their premise, so they pretty much do it in-house. And also I think planning is becoming more and more a service, and is now more paid for. Before it was pretty much a margin that you made out of the total budgets, right? So it was not really appreciated, but in this complex world, and I think that accounts for Central Eastern Europe the same way for Western Europe, because we have to acknowledge the fact that maybe 60% of the ad budgets are being spent by global companies, and in some countries it's more or less, but they are pretty much the key drivers, the big brands like the Procter & Gamble, the Volkswagen, the global players. And they're driving a lot of this, and they have a tendency to insource this kind of planning again, which they have outsourced for many years to the agencies.
I find I have the odd conversation with the brands, and it seems that we can talk a lot about really clever ways of segmentation, but at some point somebody then starts talking about demographics conceived in about the 60s. So how deep does that go? Is this segmentation something that is very good for our own understanding of what's going on in the ad space, but not necessarily selling things? Or is this a transition? Is it something that the brands have to adapt to, letting go of pie charts of 16 to 35-year-old men, etc., and push towards what we're trying to push here, which is deeper understanding of real audience behaviors? How much do you feel in your interactions with the brands about how that conversation is actually progressing? Hard question. Who wants to take
Two
it?
things I think need to change. This is segmentation is one thing, and the CPMs, right? These are two big levers. I think if you can abandon the CPM thinking and start segmenting in a different way, or according to the audience that you really would like to engage with, and to address that potential consumer, then you can get much more precise. But that also, borrowing what I said before, so that requires also more knowledge on the planning side. So you have huge data lakes and you have all of that, but you really have the right AI that really segments the audiences.
Yeah, I can maybe add most of the graphics, this rocket booming graphics coming from United States. And a statistic there shows that many advertisers already understand all the value of this type of channels, like fast channels, when you can precisely target with some thematical channel exact audience. You can jump into this big screen advertisement with quite a low budget, so something what some of the brands won't be able to allow themselves on a traditional linear TV. With this niche, narrow, small channels, they can do it. And amount of ad dollars migrating to fast and this type of quite fast. And okay, it's some graphs from North America, but we understand that in Western Europe and then in Eastern Europe it will come as well.
Everyone knows that from the online, right? Every agency using it in online, deep targeting, why they're doing, they want to save money. You want to show the advertisement where the people, where your customers are. This is something what will happen. It's not if, it's just when. In TV, it will be a little bit later. It doesn't matter if it's fast or if it's normal channels, because even there you can replace ads and so on. But it's more about collect the data right now. Step one, work with data, learn the target. It will take some time, but we're going there.
Sounds good. So, we've got the technology, we've got the understanding, we've got the measurement. Let's talk about what's happening further down the pipeline. So we know that there is a massive advantage to being able to monetize linear content, be it library content or slightly more premium. We know that programmatic is efficient and better understood. So why isn't everywhere? Why isn't everybody pushing all the time for fast for everything? So I guess my question is, there's perhaps a bottleneck in fast. Is it fair to say that? That's my first question. There's a lot of appetite, but it's still growing slowly. So where does that need a push from?
I think to be successful, you need distribution. You need to create a big inventory to attract advertisers. You need to be able to share analytics, to share the ad performances, and to assess the performance of the ad campaign. And if you don't have distribution, if you don't have volume and value, even if you have nice content, you will not be successful. So distribution is the key, and this is why it's very important to involve the ISPs and to reach the operators where the able are. And I think it will be the key in Eastern Europe. It is also what we see in Western Europe. We have more and more discussion with ISP, bringing some fast channel in their lineup. And I think the main challenge is the distribution on ISP's solution. But then you have to integrate with set-top boxes, and it can be a bit challenging, yeah.
And I could also imagine there's sort of a conflict of interest here. If you fast wants to monetize itself and the ISPs or the telcos will start trying to monetize the inventory or the data around it. So I think that's one of the reasons maybe that it has not been adapted in the way that it should have or expected, I could imagine. But I haven't been involved in any kind of conversations, but this is more an assumption. And I think, to your point, I think it's really the lack of inventory, right? It's not so much inventory available yet.
Yeah, I can add. Let's return to my Adidas example. For example, if the brand wants to launch some campaign, let's say in Croatia, today they have to go and discuss with Telecom Croatia separately, with Telemac separately, with, OIV separately. And it's a lot of work. It's a real bottleneck here. So what we also see that some inventory markets start to be forming, where you can access whole country with all the inventory, all the available inventory in one shot. So this should simplify connection between brands and telecom operators.
How much of that is solvable with the technology we've been discussing? Because obviously there are massive privacy concerns, and when collaboration between certain companies starts, it becomes quite difficult sometimes to record where that's happening. So it's feasible to build a countrywide, centralized data set for whoever wants access to it, or is it more closed than that?
Well, it's not easy. It's not easy, and another thing which is not easy is that telecom operators, they treat themselves as the most important one in the chain, so they don't want to share their inventory with someone other. So this is also delays this process.
So changing the conversation slightly from the inventory side, there's also some other people involved in this game as well. There's these broadcasters and there's some operators who I think are also interested in fast channels. But they're on the sort of other side of it. They don't necessarily have control over inventory, but I'm sure they'd love to see that increase further. So are there other ways that broadcasters and operators can think about efficiency in terms of monetization of fast channels, for example? Who wants to go first?
I think I can. Maybe it's also nice that this is the beauty in the fast channel, that there is so many new companies and new players who can jump in. The telcos by themselves, they can create their own channels. It's not just from the broadcasters, the telcos. It's opening the world, and this is a huge advantage of everything. And we're launching a lot of this kind of channels, and with content which we never before thought that it can be in the TV. We're working with the influencers, bringing them to the television. This is a wonderful time for the telcos and for everyone around.
I think it's for the broadcaster first and foremost is a multi-screen strategy and on-demand and live and linear, right? So the mixture of that. And then bringing fast into the mix, I think it's the next bundle or bring it together. And I think that's it's still a challenge for most because they don't see the revenues yet, right? It's a little bit of a chicken and egg discussion what we're having. Yeah. But it's really like if you don't do it, but you have on the linear side declining ad revenues that you try to monetize to freemium models or subscription revenues from on-demand services, and now you have the advertising back with the fast. So I think it's interesting how they would like to bundle these different kind of user experiences, and maybe you can say, okay, I can subscribe with an ad model for the linear, and I have a premium for SVOD, or so I think it's the business model, and also the other, and it goes back to technology, as all the billing and all the other tooling that is more in the remit of the telcos and the network operators than rather than the broadcasters. If they're not pay TV is a different thing, but if you say traditional broadcasters are not having a billing relationship to their customers. It's unfortunately it goes back to technology.
Makes a lot of sense. So for you guys who are building solutions specifically around this various parts of the chain, what can I ask about? How's it going? Sort of what the appetite is, perhaps more specifically. Like, are you inundated with requests to start building new stuff, or is it more a little bit of a cautious approach to try new stuff?
I think it used to be like the Far West, and we had requests almost every day. I want to create my fast channels, but here again we come on the distribution topic. You can have a nice content, but if you don't have any distribution agreement, like you want to launch your content, but if you're not on Samsung, today they're the biggest fast platform in Europe, Samsung, Pluto, and these guys. If you don't have any distribution agreement, it's a nonsense. You will lose money at the end, even if you have a great content. Setting up a fast channel is a matter of hours. You ingest your content, you create a schedule, and you deliver. But at the end of the day, you need distribution. You need to. It's a flywheel fast. So you need to start your channel with a distribution. The first month you will not make a lot of revenue, and you need to create inventory, attract advertiser agencies, and then you can start to make a business. and get revenues.
So it's a patience game.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that similar to your experiences?
Yeah, it's hard to make this ball rolling, sorry. Yeah, so you have to put around same table telecom operator, some sales house. If it's not fast channel, if it's some broadcaster content, you have to put broadcaster around the same table. They should agree with each other. And but once it's done, then it start getting popularity, more sales, more advertisers coming, and then the ball starts to roll.
And it speed up really fast.
Rather faster as it goes
Yeah.
further down the hill.
Yeah, we discussed because one thing is fast, another thing is when you replace ad with some broadcasters, and broadcasters who used to get all the money from the ad sales, they simply don't understand why they have to share this money with telecom operator, because historically they were getting all the cash, and now they have to share it. Some of them start to understand, okay, it's targeted, it's a bigger revenue, there is something to share. Some of them start to notice that advertisers and brands are really interested in this technology, but some of them are still very old-fashioned, and they say, no, it's my money, I'm not sharing it.
Yeah, that goes back to segmentation. I think as much as the broadcasters, because they didn't have to, because they were not distributors, they don't understand their audiences based on the traditional measurements, and that's how they segment it. And I think the advantage of the telcos is to have better data, user data, and I think that the brands and the telcos need to collaborate more on that, so that they can probably find interesting target groups in the footprint of the subscribers of the telcos. And I think the broadcasters will follow, because they also have to compensate for declining ad revenues or declining pay TV. I mean, both business models are suffering right now, or have seen major declines in recent years. So I think I always say it comes from a two-sided business model to multi-sided business models and relationship. And I think that's pretty new to the industry, that we really need to share the data or build data lakes, and everybody gets also a revenue share out of it. But in the moment we are thinking, I think, maybe too much in silos still, and not thinking about. And on the other side, they're wondering why these global, the big global companies that I mentioned in the beginning of this conversation are so successful, because they're really building that kind of platforms where you can reach the audience in various services or screens.
All this is really nicely explainable on the new money, right? There's always easier agreement, and this new money coming from the old analytics, which basically leave their huge gap.
Yeah.
And they left there a lot of place for a lot of new money. So there is easy to start, and it depends how far it will go, even to the original numbers. But before that, when you cannot measure, I don't know, secondary screens, which is usually 20% of all revenues, all time spent there, when you cannot measure, I don't know, 4 days and more later, when you cannot measure smaller channels, when you cannot measure some channels which don't have 100% of distribution, it's all limits, which basically creating new opportunities. Here we are.
Maybe there's an AI solution that can help out in exactly that. We've got about 12 minutes left, so I'm going to move to the future. That feels like a nice place to go. So a few predictions. I think that the big one we've been talking about are, there are still a lot of silos and barriers within the region that are preventing. I don't want to be too negative, because there's a lot of progress and a lot of actually really good work that can be done right now. But there are a lot of barriers still in place that is especially prevalent in CEE, where there's quite a fragmented region. So put your sort of magic wands in your hands and your fairy caps on. What needs to happen in CEE to start solving some of these problems around silos, problems with data?
I can start one of the, let's say, main problem which I see in many countries, not just operators, entire countries, that the countries are still very cable access is the main technology. And without having this full interactivity, without knowing what's going on the customer device, on the end player, you cannot deploy all these nice features which we discussing here. So first step is obviously grow OTT and streaming access, get rid of cable, DVB technologies, because it's a big stopper for this. So I was talking to some operators and they say, hey, cable is very reliable, it's very cheap, we have it across whole country, why should we change? Yeah. But the main asset of operator is not towers, it's not network, it's user data. And when operator will start to understand that their main asset is user data, which they can monetize, then it will be easier to launch such type of projects.
So that's not a technical hurdle at all. That's a shift in comprehension. Is that fair to say?
At least we see that in numbers that it's going this way. It's going faster than we thought maybe on the beginning. But in our region, we see how all channels, distribution channels declining, and OTT, IPTV is only one who is increasing all the time. This is inevitable. And also it's really nice that they're pushed by interactivity, by user needs, because nowadays the standard isn't Netflix. Anyone who will not be close at least to this, the users will leave by themselves anyway. So I think there is also push from the product side, which is good for everyone, I would say.
Yeah, I think collaboration is key. That's and to agree on one currency, right? And have currency available that goes towards multi-screen. But what I found interesting that we always talk about what we could cater to the customer, but we haven't really discussed what customers want, right? I mean, if they give you the consent that you can advertise, fine, but I think we need to think about more about different user behavior and the switch between linear and non-linear. So I think I found interesting that some North American ISPs now give in the household itself the subscribers the choice to choose certain amounts of linear channels, certain amount on-demand content, and they track it to the, say, different users in one household with different profiles, and then the ads will be targeted to that profile that is currently watching or using the service. And I think we are not so elaborate. It goes back again to technology. And I think we will see much more new technologies coming into place that exactly building new products and services that also is being supported by advertising somehow. And next years.
Yes, same for me. Collaboration is a key. We have to change the mindset mainly from the broadcaster side, not getting any more revenue by CPS, but getting CPM instead. Sharing revenues with ISPs, with not only ISPs, but any OTT platform, fast players. Fast is also a good way to promote freemium, have a few content for free, and then you subscribe if you want more. We did that with DAZN recently, and it's very nice to acquire subscriber and also to avoid the churn. I think collaboration indeed is the key of success.
So collaboration is one thing, and moving ad budgets kind of move where they want. We mentioned new money and old money before, so let's be slightly provocative. What happens to the old money? We've got a bunch of sort of legacy, traditional, advertising players, I'll call them, who are not necessarily prepared for this sort of big shift. So what happens there? Are you going to eat their lunch? Are they out of a job, or are they going to catch up, or is it a partnership deal? What's going on with the legacy guys?
From our point of view, it's always a partnership. They we see on a lot of places a lot of problems that they are sold out. They basically have bigger interest than they can serve, and all these new ways they just can help them to earn more money. And there is place for partnership, for example, for us or for similar companies, where you can help them basically to get there, to get the most and to increase their potential. So this is how we see it.
And before they had pretty much only to look at user data and demographics, right? And now you have to be much more educated on the segmentation, and it goes also back what I said with the planning side, which was neglected for many years, now is back in the game. And I think that they need much more consulting around what they should do with their ad spend and how they should place it. And you need to be more educated and smarter about this. And I think that's something that maybe an ISP can also provide, or some other layers in between to help these brands reach the audiences that they wanted to reach.
Perfect. I'm going to go to my final question, my magic wand question. So the future's programmatic, the future's ad insertion, the future's data. I want each of you in turn to tell me, if you have your magic wand, what needs to change about the industry in the next few years to solve the problems that you're currently facing. Be as least realistic as you like. It doesn't have to be something that's easily solved, but what's the problem that's stopping you progressing? I'll start with Anette at the end.
Agreeing on currencies. I think that's if you don't know what you charge for what you're doing, I mean, and not relying on old measurements methods like panels, and see it as from a more holistic approach, a multi-screen usage and all the user behavior, and not thinking about 14 to 49-year-olds, right? And applying these kind of base data to spending budgets or whatever. And I think the UK is a good example. They did that very early on in 2008 years, where online already overtook linear broadcast. But I think we need to get much more educated on that. And then I think that will help if everybody agrees this is the value that we are paying for X. Then I think we can all move on and then agree on how we plan our media and where we plan it.
Perfect. Christophe, what do you ask your fairy godmother?
I would say, yes, still more budget in programmatic campaign because today the fill rate is an issue. You have something like maybe 50% in Europe, so there is still room for improvement. And yeah, more education, more programmatic campaign, and it will make the fast more successful.
Boris.
Yeah, I would ask her to make telecom operators start selling ad, because for many operators it's not a core business. They don't know how to do this, and it's some really strong magic push is needed to make them doing this. Once they understand all the power of this, it will start.
Maybe they should see a magic cash flow, and
maybe
that'll be part of the problem solved. Christophe, sorry, Ladislav. I've left you the hardest job to last.
To close it, thank you, everyone. I would agree with all of these, and I would just add the adaptation of the bigger player, and let's push it further. There is big opportunities. I disagree with a lot of what was said here, and I would close it with this.
Perfect. So that's the end of our panel. What do we need to progress into the new era of advertising? It's collaboration. It's collaboration around data. It's collaboration between the old players and the new players. It's collaboration between ISPs and telco, and that drags us into the future. So thank you very much for my panelists, and thank you to my audience.
Thank you.
Thank you.